Between South America and Antarctica lies some of the most treacherous ocean conditions on Earth. Travel influencer Alyssa Ramos has crossed it 8 times.
It is like one of the most unnerving feelings I've ever had.
It's the gateway to Antarctica.
I did my research and I was like, okay, it's going to be like pretty bad. I didn't know how bad it could be.
But it's not for the faint of heart.
It goes up in the front, slams down in the front, and then rocks from side to side like a roller coaster or some sort of evil carnival ride.
Relentless waves, extreme winds.
Like your wine glass is flying across the table. Silverware is like trying to stab people at the next table by flying at them.
Today we're going off the radar and into the Drake Passage. We'll learn the history, the science, and the experience of this notorious body of water.
Don't have a panic attack. It's okay. And then my other half of my mind is like, can I still get off the ship? Why am I doing this again?
I'm meteorologist Emily Gracie, and you're listening to Off the Radar, a production of the National Weather Desk. On the show, we dig deep into topics about weather, climate, the ocean, space, and much more. Our goal is to help you better understand the weather and to love it as much as we do. If you trace the South American continent to its southernmost point where the Atlantic Ocean meets the Pacific, you'll reach the famed Drake Passage. It's a 600-mile wide stretch of open ocean between Chile and Antarctica, and it's deep. Its waters average 11,000 feet in depth, but some areas go down to over 15,000 feet. That's nearly 3 miles below sea level. The ocean floor there is riddled with undersea mountains, creating a vast ecosystem where chaos exists above and below the surface. Cyclones move through the area, with storms pushing waves up to 49 feet high. So why would anyone willingly venture into this shipwreck graveyard? Prior to the 1914 opening of the Panama Canal, ships traveling between Europe and the Pacific Ocean had to sail around the southernmost point of South America, through the dreaded Drake Passage. With wave heights that can exceed a 4-story building, that was no easy feat. Before modern engineering, ships routinely sank in the Drake Passage. It's estimated that over 10,000 sailors have drowned in the Drake. Today, cruise ships bound for Antarctica routinely cross the Drake Passage. And while modern vessels are far more robust than the wooden ships that once battled these waters, the journey can still be notoriously rough. Passengers often document their experience online using hashtags like #DrakeShake, capturing cabins tilting, furniture sliding, and even waves crashing over the decks. On calmer days, the internet offers a gentler counterpart, Drake Lake. Either way, the crossing has taken on a life of its own in travel culture. In this episode, we're digging into the science behind this legendary stretch of ocean. To do that, I spoke with Alvaro Scardilli, a marine meteorologist with the Argentine Navy whose job it is to forecast the Drake Passage's volatile conditions. He'll explain the atmospheric forces that create these towering waves. But first, we're checking in with one of the travel influencers who helped bring the Drake Passage into global consciousness. Alyssa Ramos has crossed it 8 times, and she's here to share what the experience is really like as a tourist, as well as her advice for anyone planning a trip to Antarctica. Very few people, I think, could say that they've been to this part of the world, but you've been to many parts of the world. So definitely want to hear about your experience. I first learned about this, I think, on Instagram. And I should say, I'm a meteorologist. I should know about this like meteorological phenomenon that is the Drake Passage. But it had to come into my realm of understanding through Instagram and the videos that come out. And you are one of these Instagram influencers that takes these amazing videos. So give me a little background on you for one and what you do for a living.
I'm Alyssa Ramos. My brand is My Life's a Travel Movie. I am considered one of the first original solo female travel bloggers. So I've been doing this for like 14 years. I've been to 145 countries. Antarctica was high on my bucket list when I very first started traveling. I've been there 4 times now, which means I've crossed the Drake Passage 8 times.
I think people don't really realize that to go to Antarctica, you do have to go through the Drake Passage, right? Like this is, if a tourist is going to Antarctica, it's kind of the way to go because it's that closest connection from landmass to landmass, right?
I would say it's the most affordable way to go. There's 3 or 4 different ways you can go. There are flights, but I mean, they're like $20,000 flights. So this is definitely like the shortest distance and the most affordable.
Okay, before the first time you ever went, were you aware of this passage and what the experience might be like?
Absolutely not. No, I was not. Because I had only seen one other person go to Antarctica, and it was a male travel blogger, but he was already like really established in the game. So he had a lot of cool connections and he flew there. So I only saw his cool pictures with penguins. I never saw any content about it. I never heard anyone talking about it because I didn't know anyone on social media or in my blogger circle that had even been there. So no, I had no idea what I was in for. I did my research and I was like, okay, it's going to be like pretty bad. I didn't know how bad it could be. I'm from Florida. I grew up on boats. I have been on all the cruises. I was not expecting this level of bad. And it's just like constant bad.
Do they prepare you once you're on the ship? I'm guessing there's like some safety protocol that happens.
So when you first get on the ship, you do the safety briefing, which of course freaks you out because you get like Titanic vibes. And then they go through all of the different like protocols and what everything's going to be like. And then they go through an entire thing about seasickness. And there's a doctor on board and they always come out and they thoroughly warn and scare you. And on my first ever expedition, I've only seen this done once and I thought it was hilarious. The doctor literally went around to every single person on the ship with his nurse who had a spreadsheet of everyone's name. And when he got to me and my group, he goes, okay, you want the red pill or the blue pill? Because it was like the red pill was the drowsy and the blue is the non-drowsy. Seasick medicine. Sorry, I forgot to preface what he was even offering us. So yeah, he was basically forcing every single passenger on the ship to take the seasick medicine as a precaution. And he said, you can do whatever you think is going to work for you. You can try the bands, you can try nothing, you can take your own meds, but we're going to give you meds anyway because we have to. So that was our warning.
Tell me about the timing and like when things started to get a little bit rough and how long that lasted and then what your experience was like.
So the timing is confusing. And you don't think that you're going to be going into anything rough because you leave the Beagle Channel from Ushuaia and it's very calm usually. So you're like, doing the toast, drinking your little champagne, saying bye to the rest of the world as you like whisked away on these beautiful expedition ships. And usually you're talking and like running around and checking out stuff and taking pictures. You don't know when it's going to happen. So I'll just tell you about a time that I very, very distinctly remember. And I'm sure you have seen it because I ended up sliding across the deck because I didn't know we were going into the Drake Passage. So that video was born because my group and I were just simply out back. In the video, you can see we're not even just too warm or anything. We all have wine in our hands because it wasn't rocking yet. So we're chatting away and all of a sudden the boat starts to rock like a swoop from one side and a rock back to the other side. And it had only been probably half an hour since we left the Beagle Channel, which is very, very close to mainland. And then, so like as the video goes, I honestly sat down because I hate the swooping feeling. So the way I describe the way the ship moves, it would be easier if I could show you my hand, but it goes up in the front, slams down in the front, and then rocks from side to side like a roller coaster or some sort of evil carnival ride. And like your soul goes up, goes down, and then twirls around. It is like one of the most unnerving feelings I've ever had. And I think also when I'm puking that first day, I also am looking in the mirror saying, don't have a panic attack. It's okay. And then my other half of my mind is like, can I still get off the ship? Why am I doing this again? It goes away after a couple hours. So you really don't know when it's going to start and you don't know when it's going to stop. So if it's really bad, it can take up to 3 days for you to cross the passage. I have also had days when we've gotten there by the end of the second day. So like a day and a half.
When this is happening, when you're in this scenario, is it that you're feeling sick and that part's awful? Or are you fearful like the boat's going to flip? Are you fearful about like what's going to happen to the ship?
I personally just dread the up, down, side to side feeling and the thought of like, this is never going to end. Once I personally take the seasick medicine or I can actually get it down, I'm pretty much fine. Like I just kind of battle through it. Most people drink a lot on the Drake shake because that's like one way to just like deal with it. You try to make the most of it and have as much fun as you can. Most people are like really amused by it, but I have seen there are some people that are very, very affected by seasickness. And I've had so many people ask me, they say I really want to do the Antarctica trip, but they do not want to get seasick. Like they cannot get seasick. And I try to tell them, like, if you take the right medications, like it should be fine. But I have seen on each trip, there are some people who end up having to stay in their cabins for the entire Drake Passage, which is unfortunate. But yeah, there's things to do. The expedition teams make everything very as entertaining as they can. So there's educational lectures all day. They'll have like little like entertainment things in the evening. And then we try to have meals, but sometimes you obviously cannot be sitting there at the table. Like your wine glass is flying across the table. Silverware is like trying to stab people at the next table by flying at them. I feel so bad for the servers on the Drake Passage. Like they have to serve all the food and they're literally like running side to side, back and forth because of the boat moving.
Any other tips for somebody who wants to go to Antarctica, scared of going through the Drake Passage, or maybe somebody who really wants to try it, like is wondering what this is all about?
If you are a person who really wants to try the Drake Passage, I applaud you. You would have a very easy time getting to Antarctica. But I mean, you say that now, but half the people that said they wanted to experience it regretted it later. But mostly for anyone who is afraid of going because of the Drake Passage, I honestly would still suggest doing it and just preparing yourself mentally and like with your products to bring. Mentally, you could start doing some types of meditations, like anti-anxiety meditations really work, and you can have some downloaded in case you start to like panic. Just bring all the medicine that you need. There's always nurses on board. There's a doctor on board. Remind yourself constantly that there is a full-on infirmary on board. If you do get sick, they will help you. And to anyone wondering if the ships will like sink or break or something, I was actually on the Drake Passage at the same time, I don't remember which year, a few years ago, that the one ship did have the window break and someone did pass away, unfortunately. That like really rarely happens. Extremely, extremely rare happens. These ships are built specifically for that passage. So don't worry about the ships. The ships are completely safe and the expedition crews are amazing. They're so skilled and very, very experienced. So that part is completely safe. You just gotta, accept that you might vomit a couple times, maybe.
Now a short break, but we'll be right back with Alvaro Scardilli. There's been a lot on social media where you see these videos of people on cruises and these ridiculous huge waves. So I want to get the true story and the, kind of the ocean physics of what's going on here and causing this. Can you give me a little background on yourself, what your role is?
Yes, of course. I'm a Navy officer. I'm a commander in the Argentine Navy, and I am also a meteorologist. So the combination of these two professions makes that I go on board ships of the Navy. And so I sail to Antarctica every summer. And my job there is to advise the commanding officers in meteorology and marine glaciology, all related with sea ice and icebergs.
So you're familiar with the Drake Passage. You spent some time there.
Absolutely. It was my first big challenge when I finished university, when I finished my degree in meteorology. And I went just right up to the ship, to to a Navy ship to go to Antarctica. I finished my last exams and went on board. And then I had to forecast for the ship to cross the Drake Passage. That was a big challenge.
Wow. Okay, we're going to dig into all that and what that's like. But let's go back to kind of the history of Drake Passage here, where it is, because I think especially Americans may have never even heard of this before. Can you explain where it is and the history behind it?
Drake Passage is in the extreme south of America, of South America specifically, and it's the mass of water between South America and Antarctic Peninsula. It was the previously of Panama Canal. It was the route to go through the Atlantic Ocean to the Pacific Ocean. But with the Panama Canal now, of course, it's easier and faster to go through there. But now it's getting a new big importance, the Drake Passage, because Panama Canal it's full of ships around. So it's like like heavy traffic there, and many ships are using again the Drake Passage to cross between oceans.
Interesting.
Yes,
I didn't know that.
you can spend many days waiting for your turn to cross the Panama Canal, and so Drake is now a new route, a new route. Yes,
it's coming back.
Going back to the history of the Drake Passage, it was first discovered by Francisco de Oces, a Spanish explorer in the 1520s. He didn't cross it. Like 50 years later, in the 1570s, Francis Drake, another famous explorer, also found it, and he crosses a little bit more, not completely, but then they realized that the Tierra del Fuego, the last island in South America, was not was the end of the continent. That was the last piece of land in America, in South America, after these two explorers. So the first one in discovering this pass of water was Francisco de Oces, and after that, Francis Drake, he complete the navigation of the Drake Passage, and internationally now it's known as Drake Passage. Some similarities is that both explorers found the pass of water, found that area because they were in bad weather conditions. So they were like pulled to the area, to the Drake Passage, to that part of the world because of bad weather, because big storms. They went into that region because of bad weather. In both cases, they were not expecting to find that. And another similarity is that they are both called Francis. One is Francisco in Spanish, and the other one is Francis in English. So that's funny. But the time difference is only 50 years between both of them. It was, as I mentioned before, it was used to navigate between the South Atlantic Ocean and the South Pacific Ocean. It was a very important route, commercial route, before the Panama Canal. The separation between the two nearest continents, between Antarctica and South America. If you measure distances between South Africa or Australia or New Zealand, Argentina is the closest country to Antarctica, but you have to go through the Drake Passage.
What's the distance? Like, can you see one from the other?
No. It's about between the peninsula Tierra del Fuego, this island I mentioned. It's Tierra del Fuego means island of fire, because the first discoverers they saw a lot of small fires from the indigenous people in the coast. It's a very cold area, of course. And the distance between there and the peninsula is, the Antarctic Peninsula is about 900 kilometers. It's 450 nautical miles, approximately. So depending on the ship, it could take you like a day and a half, maybe 2 days crossing, depending of the weather, of course. If you are going in a small sailboat, probably it will take 4 or 5 days.
Okay. Oof, small sailboat. That sounds awful.
We can think about that.
All right, let's talk about your expertise. I want to hear about let's start with what's going on beneath the surface of the water that causes the waves, and then also meteorologically, weather pattern wise, what's happening in the atmosphere that causes them.
Okay. Well, what's going beneath the surface, it's not the reason of the waves. It's not the direct consequence on the waves.
Oh.
It's a very deep area. It's like you have between 3,000, 5,000 meters depth. So it's a very deep area. So the bottom of the ocean doesn't affect the waves. What it affects the waves is the winds. You have like every 48 hours, 72 hours, like between 2 and 3 days, you will have an extratropical cyclone going that area. It's the latitude of subpolar low pressure systems, and so you have high winds, gale winds, very strong winds that cross the Drake Passage every 2 or 3 days. And the combination with the Antarctic circumpolar current, it's a very fast ocean current in the surface, gives you the dynamic for having big waves and a lot of inertia in the movement. So it's not also that you will have big waves during the storm, but they will also keep going and moving even after the storm. So you will have a very strong swell, it's the wave beneath the surface. It's called swell. And you will have that for at least 2 more days after the big storm. So it's not always the waves on the surface, but it's also the swell beneath it that also generates a lot of inconveniences. The bottom of the Drake Passage, it's very deep. You have different densities of waters because of salinity and cold waters. You have also in the Drake Passage the separation between the Antarctic waters and the South Atlantic waters. It is around the 60 degrees of latitude. There is like we call it the polar front. It's the separation between two masses of waters. The ones that belongs to the Antarctic waters, the very cold waters, and then you have the South Atlantic that are warmer. Doesn't mean that they are they are hot. They are warmer than the Antarctic water, but they are also very cold. But the effects on the waves are typically from the surface meteorological events. It will also depend a lot in the time that the wind is blowing, the distance from where the wind is blowing, and the time, of course, how many hours or days is the wind blowing.
Are there certain times of year where it's worse than others?
I guess that the best time in the year to go there, it's during December, January. We go from November to April. But if I have to recommend someone to take a tourist cruise, do it on January. But you will find good conditions, windows of good conditions all around the year. But probably during the winter, those are the worst.
During the winter, is there ice? Is that why it's dangerous, or is it the waves?
Ice is dangerous all the year round. Not sea ice, but mostly icebergs are the danger there for ships. Sea ice is retreating dramatically, very fast every year. And now the first part of the Antarctic Peninsula, the northern part, the South Shetland Islands, are not anymore covered by sea ice. They used to be covered by us. When I started going to Antarctica, they were covered with ice until October. They didn't the islands didn't have ice in all the year, the last 2 years. So the sea ice is retreating very fast, but the danger for ships is the icebergs.
Mm.
And those you can find all year round. So it's a hazard all the year.
Given the ocean current, the strength of the ocean current, is it a huge difference travel time-wise going one direction versus the other?
No, it will always depend on the weather.
Oh.
It will always depend. I mean, what marine meteorologists do is try to find the best window according with the weather circumstances. Of course, taking into account the kind of vessel you are going, and if you're going south or north, to take advantage of the wind direction and the wave direction. Sometimes they don't match. So you need to assess the commanding officer. Okay, we can go north, but not direct. We could go in this direction first and take this another one. I have 2 or 3 Drake crosses that I used to teach to other meteorologists. It's the combination of a lot of things, but it's to go through 2 low pressure systems, to go just in the middle of the 2 of those. Not very fast, not very slow. So not too fast to get reached by the first one, but not very slow to get reached by the next one. Just to go right in the middle of the both, and we succeed. So it's a lot of knowledge, not only in the weather forecast, but also in how to sail a ship. And that's the advantage of being a Navy officer. So I have the knowledge in navigation and in the weather forecast, so I can assess in that matters. Of course, the final decision, the final call is on the CO. Sometimes you need to play with different factors, not only the weather. It's also what you need to do. If you are going to do a search and rescue operation, are you doing logistics? Are you doing science? It's a combination of everything in Antarctica, because you don't have a port, a dock to go to it, right? You just stay going around in Antarctica, and you need to do logistics with the stations, science, with helicopters, with small boats. So it depends all the time on different factors. It's not the same to operate with helicopters that with the small boats. I mean, the forecast is differently focused.
Okay, well, you brought up search and rescue. Are you having to go save people in the Drake Passage?
There's been some search and rescue missions there, but most of the time it's in the Antarctic Peninsula, in the south part of the Drake Passage, probably. But yes, there's been some operations there in the Drake Passage too. And for those cases, you cannot wait for the window, for the weather window. You just need to go. So for those cases, it's really, really heavy.
You have the benefit of being a meteorologist and advising the Navy. What about these commercial ships or tourism ships? Are they using responsible means to travel through there? Do they have meteorologists on staff?
I cannot talk for all of them, but they don't have a meteorologist on board. They access, I don't know, some products or private companies, probably. I'm not really sure. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I think that they only use what it is accessible on the internet. The work they do is mostly tourist cruises, big ships, like hundreds or thousands of people there on every ship. You have around 120,000 tourists every year in Antarctica in the summer. So it's a lot of people. And you also have fishing vessels in the Drake Passage. And yes, there is a lot of activity there. The problem they have is that they have to comply with a schedule. Maybe sometimes they cannot wait, or they don't want to wait for the weather window, and they just cross the Drake Passage. There's been some accidents and some loss of life because of crossing the Drake Passage in bad weather conditions. There was one a couple of years ago, maybe 3 years ago, a tourist ship crossing the Drake Passage in very bad weather conditions. The wave hit the side of the ship, and it take out the entire window of the cabin in the side and kill a person. So crossing the Drake Passage in bad weather conditions, even for big cruise ships, it's a danger.
Are there, historically, do you know, have there been like old shipwrecks there or missing vessels that, what's lying beneath the water? Is there like a treasure trove of history?
Yes, it's very deep. So who will know? Nobody went there.
They found Titanic.
Yes, exactly. But I think it's not that deep. I don't remember the depth of the Titanic, but probably it's not that deep. They found Shackleton ship in the Atlantic Peninsula, but there was an idea where it was. So it's not the same. Yes, there were a lot of sinking vessels there. But it was long time ago with all ships, all cargo ships or sales ships, not in the modern era of vessels. For a vessel to be sunk is like not that easy in these days.
That's comforting.
The weather conditions could be very, very difficult there. I mean, I went through very bad experiences, not because it was not forecasted, but because there was no other option.
I'm kind of like thinking of like airplanes and turbulence, and when you're flying and you're dealing with a lot of turbulence, you know, like the plane's not going down, but like you're going to get knocked around and people get hurt and they die because they're getting knocked around.
Yes, of course, yes. It could be the comparison, yes, but the difference is that you can probably go through 1 minute on turbulence, and you can be in 2 days storm situation or day and a half storm situation. So the time perception is very, very different.
Oh, that sounds awful.
And the hits that the ship receives from the waves, it's a very strong impact. It's not like moving on turbulence. It's like a very strong hit. For example, our icebreaker or our cargo ships are 100 meters long and thousands of tons of weight. And they go up 10, 12, 13 meters up, 10, 12, 13 meters down in a free fall. So the impact with the sea it's very strong. It moves everything. It breaks everything on board the ship. How
physically do you deal with that? Or is there like a place you can strap in safety wise? How do the people on board stay safe?
The best thing we do is, if you don't need to do something, just stay on your cabin. Try to accommodate as much as you can. Try to wait. And for those who need to be on duty, on machines, on the engines, on the bridge, just try to hang on and resist. And after the bad weather, it's like a funny story, but just only after, not during.
Were you ever scared?
No. I've been in the Navy since I was 17, so no. I guess you get used to be on board ships, and the movement is part of your life, and you know that the ship will resist. It's very annoying, and it's disturbing and hits you everywhere, and the hits are heavily strong. It's very hard, and especially because it's one after the other. It never ends. So probably that's the worst feeling and the worst part. But you know that the ship will resist. So you are not scared, but you are uncomfortable, of course.
Sounds exhausting too.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Physically, it's extremely exhausting because you are all the time taking you with your arms, with your feet. You're doing a lot of strength with your legs, So yes, it's extremely exhausting.
You mentioned sailboats earlier. Do sailboats really go through there?
Yes, and the smaller ones each year. And Antarctic continent is under the Antarctic Treaty. So there is no sovereignty exercised by any country. There is a treaty that most of the countries of the world sign it, and there are some rules, but everyone is free to go there. I mean, no one can claim sovereignty in that region of the world, south of the latitude of 60 degrees south. So you have a lot of sailboats. At the first were big sailboats, tourist ships with sails, maybe 2 or 3 masts, big ships, during tourism in old-fashioned ways. But with the years, many others take courage and went there to Antarctica. And now you can find lonely sailors going to Antarctica in a small sailboats.
Is that a bad idea?
You can do whatever you want and you can take the risk. But the thing is that it's a wonderful place. It's the best place on earth. It's like nowhere. It's very beautiful. So I also encourage everyone to take a cruise there. If you can in your life to go, you need to go because you will not find any other place like that in the world. But the thing is that you have no infrastructure over there. So if you have a problem, not also in the Drake Passage, also in Antarctic Peninsula, in the water surrounding the peninsula, there is probably nobody there. And the efforts to reach you, to rescue you, will also put people in danger. It's our job. It's the job of the search and rescue teams, of course, but sometimes some risks are taken unnecessarily. If you are well prepared, if you have a meteorology advisor, a very good ice advisor, because you need to have an advisor on sea ice conditions. If you have access to information, if you can plan your trip correctly, it's wonderful, and you will probably have no problem.
Alvaro, is there anything else you want to add about the Drake Passage or tips for people who might be interested in going to Antarctica?
I always recommend people to go to Antarctica because it's wonderful. And if you want to go, I strongly recommend December or January. It's our summer here in the south. And it's an incredible journey to cross the Drake Passage because if you are there, you are in the middle of the two oceans, the Atlantic Ocean, the Pacific Ocean. You are in the middle of it. And a lot of things are going around there. You maybe need to read a very basic oceanography book or meteorology book, and you can recognize a lot of things there if you like this kind of things. And when you arrive to Antarctica, it's incredible. So the Drake Passage is the door to Antarctica, the closest one to Antarctica. And probably you should take it.
Off the Radar is a production of the National Weather Desk. Make sure you're following the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. New episodes published every Tuesday. Also, please rate and review the podcast on Spotify and Apple. There'll be no new episode next week because of the holidays, but keep an eye out for the last new episode of the year, where I'll be sitting down with associate producer Brian Petrus to count down our favorite Off the Radar episodes of 2025. Thank you to Alvaro Scardilli for his expertise on the Drake Passage today. Also, thanks to Alyssa Ramos for sharing her stories. Make sure you check out Alyssa's travel blog. It's called My Life's a Travel Movie. She's also on Instagram and TikTok. If you're planning a trip, she has some great tips, and she's been just about everywhere. Thanks to the National Weather Desk and Sinclair Broadcast Group for their ongoing support of the podcast, as well as, of course, my associate producer, Brian Petrus, for his help with today's episode. I'm meteorologist Emily Gracie. Make it a great day.